Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. My name is Jan England, and I'm the writer-director of the feature film 154, which was actually my first feature film as director and as writer as well. Let me introduce, before we get into this discussion, of the amazing director of the amazing short film Wanted Strong Woman, Marilyn Cooke.
He's just doing too much. He's just doing too much. I'm really happy to be at the festival, and thanks so much, Jan, for having selected my short film. And I hope everybody will get something out of it. So so thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Same here. So I just want to know, Marilyn, first of all, why this topic of wrestling, and do you have any experience with wrestling? How did you get this idea for because it's very it's very original, and that's one of the reasons when I saw your film, I was like, ooh, this is so cool, just that world and using a woman to go into that world when we're so used to seeing the WWF and whatnot, and Hulk Hogan and all of these, The Rock and all of that, and then you see this amazing strong female character wanting to go into that world, and so I was very curious to see, why did you choose that topic? Why were you so inspired with this one?
So when I was a kid, actually, wrestling was almost like a tradition in the house. We would watch wrestling every Sunday, every Monday. It was like a huge thing,
Really?
Yeah. No, it was really it was like the thing. And I was really young when I realized, okay, it's all it's all arranged. Obviously, the storylines, they already know what's going to happen and everything. Yeah. But I was still super fascinated by it because it was really like a story. People were telling stories, but it was super acrobatic, and there were theatrics at the same time. So it was always a world that really, really fascinated me, and that I found very colorful and very kind of wild in a way. And even when I was a kid, I remember that there were female wrestlers, and I was so in awe of them, them going out there and being tough and being strong, and sometimes even fighting men. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing. And so then I had the idea of well, what would get somebody to even get started doing that? How would you start in that world? So that's where the premise of the whole wrestling thing came from. So it was a long process of in my childhood, a fascination that was just culminated in that film pretty much. So,
and was it because it seems from your, especially when first of all, your actors and your lead actress, you've directed her very well. She's amazing. And Makoto as well, who's the grandfather, if I'm not mistaken.
The uncle, yeah.
Not the uncle, sorry about that. So the uncle, and what I loved about the film was actually that you had exactly those two emotional arcs going on at the same time. Was that something that you had right from the get-go, where you wanted to use sports as a big thing, and then also use a more emotional part for the uncle and the sickness?
Yeah, well, I think I always wanted to bring kind of to have that duality of wrestling being in opposition with the poetry. So that was the original idea, was having these two things that are very different and that don't seem to go together.
Mm-mm.
And then having a character who's actually very kind of soft, and she takes care of people. She's she takes care of her uncle. She takes care of the old people at her work. And so I really liked having this, that she's not tough from the start, but she finds it within herself. That was really something that I wanted to explore and to go into. And then I just felt that it needed, to me, it was pushing it almost to not, I don't want to say to the extreme, because it's not to the extreme, but to have these two very different things that are going on, because I just feel that that's the way life is too. It's you never have just one thing at a time. There's always lots of things happening, or there's some baseline in your life, and then something adds on top of it. So for me, like her and the situation with the old people and with her uncle was kind of the baseline of her life. And then, you know, the wrestling comes in and really like okay, this is something else, you know, this brings me somewhere else. And yeah, so it just helps her to find like her inner power.
Were there any, did you have a lot of challenges? I guess, you know, every film has their challenges and you know, what were yours for your film? And also it seems, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the feeling I got from your wrestlers, they seem to be professional wrestlers. The way they move, the way they acted, I was like, these guys aren't acting. These guys are real. And
like no, they were just doing the thing, you know?
Lead actress and throw her in there, and I was like, this is so cool because it's got a Captain Phillips honesty. To, you know, like I've always felt like one of those films, you know, like Captain Phillips at the end with Tom Hanks when he's, I don't know if you've seen the film, but there's when they find him and there's a great scene where he's acting with real Marines that are helping him out. And I was like, it feels like there's a sort of documentary kind of ish style to it. And how was that? Is that what you did? What was your take?
So all the lead actress is an actress, but all the people that you see wrestling are all professional wrestlers. So like we paired up with a wrestling school in Montreal called the Torture Chamber.
That's the name of it?
That's the real name.
That's awesome.
That's the name of the thing. But it was Rodney Kellman, who's the lead coach there. He's an extremely generous person, very devoted to his sport, to what he does. And I was actually very impressed by that, because, you know, when you see it from the outside and you see like the world of wrestling and you think, they're, you know, but it's like the amount of dedication it takes to get to that level is incredible. And I had so much respect for that. And so to me, it was important that like I didn't treat wrestling as a joke, you know, or as like this ridiculous thing that these people do. It's like, you know, for me, it was showing like the dignity behind that too, and the hard work that goes behind it. So I thought that was really important. But I actually had a question for you too. Like what inspired you to go into to explore that, because you also have the same, like, there's a very like profound emotional and like character based development in your film, but it's also, and I was actually kind of impressed with that, because when I was watching your film, and I watched it, like I watched it when it came out, but I watched it again because I knew we were talking, and because at the beginning when it starts, it's like, I thought this was going to be like a teen movie, and then I'm like, okay, no, I think it's going to be like a sports movie, and then it ends up being like something totally different. And I was like, wow, you bring like us in so many different directions. It's like
yeah, that was the goal actually. Well, you know, when you know, I like to take point of views. And I like, as far as the storytelling is concerned, I love to, my idea for 154 was, at the beginning was, I wanted to be extremely realistic and authentic to what, and it's based on many true stories that, and not just on one story that a kid lived or went through. I've experienced some of the bullying. But also by the work that I've been doing here in Quebec, as an actor, as a host as well on TV shows and series and movies, I've always had a very strong connection with the youth in general, from everything that, you know, because I've had the chance to start as an actor when I was 8 years old, never stopped, and have done some youth series and teenager series and what, you know, all of that. And so it always gave me a very strong and privileged bond with the different generations of teenagers and young adults. And where even like about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, I had this teenager who DM'd me on Instagram, and she just said, "Hi, you don't know me, but I just want to tell you that I've had today a shitty day in school." And I was like, that's the message. And then I'm like, okay, so what's going on? And then just with one question, that person just started to tell me everything that she was going through. And it's very, and it was very like, it's raw, but that's but very honest. And so that kind of stories, and I've had, I've met with, teenagers for many years, and so I've always gathered those stories, so I wanted to be true and honest, and I've always also, I'm a guy who's been doing a lot of sports. I've actually competed and done a lot of track and field, and I was an 800-meter runner. I've done, competed on the provincial and the national level. So sports has always been part of my life as well. So I've wanted for this first film to mix both, because of the energy. But sports has a thing where it's you against yourself, especially with running, and try to surpass your limit, and for Tim, played by Antoine Olivier Pilon, when I started writing this film, it was a mix of those two, and I wanted the audience to never know exactly where we were going, but because you can have one storyline, but you can have 2 and 3 or 4 storylines, but as long as everything connects. But I wanted the audience to see, like, okay, what is this? Exactly what you just said. And I'm super happy that you said that, because I'm like, good. It starts like, yeah, we think it's a teenage movie. Then it switches to being a sports thing. And then we realize how deep it goes. And that's what bullying does as well to a lot of teenagers and to a lot of people. And over many years, it's always been doing that. And the entire film is from Tim's point of view, meaning we're always with him. He's in every single scene except 2, which is at the end of the film. And because my goal was for the audience to experience what Tim is experiencing, and to feel to really put them like close to the character and be like, I'm going through what he's going through at some point, and I'm feeling the pressure, or there's a real pressure to it, and that's what that Tim is going through that, and so that was the main goal. It was to try to achieve that, and through, because I didn't want it to just be a film about bullying, because then it's there are many great documentaries on bullying. So I wanted to try a different approach, and also to be very realistic. And it's interesting because you said that with your film, you had your lead actress act with real wrestlers, and with 154, because it was all pretty much happening in a school. I decided to shoot all of my school scenes in a real high school during the school year, during the school hours. And so what I did is I have introduced myself to the entire school before shooting. I went there and I introduced myself, and I've introduced all the actors and actresses, the entire crew, and so that the students would know who they are, and they would be like, okay, this is going to be a normal thing. And I told them, look, we're going to be here for about a good 2 to 3 weeks with you guys, and we're going to be shooting all the time. So
you see us, just don't react, like
just be yourself. Just be yourself, and just come and be. And if you're in a scene,
oh, that's great. So cool. I didn't know that, but that's funny, because like you said, you kind of felt it. There was some bits where I was like, it kind of feels like these kids are just like hanging out and like,
totally. Well, I mean, like there's a scene in the cafeteria where, when Tim is at the beginning of the film, when he gets the mashed potatoes thrown at him, what we did is I rehearsed the scenes with my actors before lunchtime, and then when it was lunchtime and the bell rang, you heard like 1,200 students rushing to the cafeteria. They all settled in, start eating, and then and then we did the scene. And so everybody's reaction happen live. So you have some kids that are laughing at Tim. There are some kids that are uncomfortable, that they're leaving. And so everything we got on camera, we got it for real. And same thing for when they started to fight. When I went to school, I went to that school every day for about 2 weeks to try to monitor when the first school bus would arrive and the last one would leave. And I realized that I had literally 22 minutes between the first and the last one to shoot my scene, because I wanted to get the movements of the school.
Yeah, I remember that scene. Yeah.
And so what I did is I rehearsed the scene really early in the morning at 6 a.m. with the actors. And then I told the actors, I said, look, guys, I'm not going to say action when we have enough people. I'm just going to wave and you do the scene and let's see what happens. And so when the students started to gather around the fight and cheer for real, and it really happened. And I wanted my actors to feel that they're part of that school. And so, I've forced my actors to call themselves, when we were on set, even over lunch, they had to call themselves by their character names. They weren't allowed to call themselves by their real name. So it was just to get the real authenticity to it.
Yeah. So would you say that was like the biggest challenge? Like,
yeah.
For that school, it sounds like a huge challenge. I'm like, oh my God.
But you know what? You realize that when you're there, everybody starts to, we know that, okay, in exactly 30 seconds, the bell will ring. So everybody be ready. We have to shoot, and we shot, and we had sometimes 15, 20 minutes, and it would just happen, and magic would happen because there was a mix between reality and fiction. And that was the goal.
That's really the magic of shooting, isn't it? It's really like,
it's
when
the beauty
something
of
just
cinema.
happens that you hadn't really, like, it's just the alchemy of like the moment, and you're like, oh my God, that was so perfect. Like, that's
just
so cool.
2 questions for you. The first one, I want to know, what was the people's reaction for your film in the different festivals that your film was screened in? Were you there sometimes? Did you get any reaction?
I got to do like, I think 3 before COVID. So
cool.
So I didn't get like a huge audience reaction, unfortunately. But hopefully the people at this festival. But the feedback was really good. And okay, so Phil wants us to ask a question.
Yeah, what about the drive-in? Hey, is this your first time in a drive-in with your film?
With my film, yes. Not in a drive-in. Like,
okay, you've been there before.
I've been to a drive-in, but to watch like other films.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. It's like,
I think it's awesome. I mean, I remember going to the drive-in with my family, with my parents, and then with my friends, and then, you just chill and have so much fun and watch films. And I was just so thrilled to know that because of COVID, our films were actually going to be screened in a drive-in with families and friends.
It's so perfect for COVID, honestly. It's like,
I know. It's just
like
it's
together,
the best idea ever.
Yeah,
it's really the best idea ever. It's just awesome. Like, cool. My film and our films have screened in a drive-in.
Yeah,
we can say that in our lives now.
Really, really cool.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for being there. First of all, one thing you have to do right now is to go and get your ticket, because we want you to be we want you to go and see the films. You'll be entertained, believe me. Thrillers and action and sports and whatnot. Go ahead. It was a pleasure to share with you some of our stories, and thanks for being there. Go get your ticket. Marilyn?
Thank you, guys. And just let us know if you want to ask us any more questions. You can hit up the festival or us on social media. And
we're all there.
Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.